The human advantage, the Galactic Empire, was a massive and powerful force that controlled most of the known galaxy. Its fleets of warships patrolled every corner of the universe, ready to crush anyone who dared to challenge their might. But today, something strange was happening. Something that no one could have predicted. The Empire's top officers sat in their command rooms, staring at the strange signals that were suddenly appearing on their screens. The signals were coming from a place deep in space, far beyond the Empire's usual range. The scanners had picked up a warship, a massive, heavily armed ship, but there was one thing that didn't make sense. The signal's origin point was marked as Earth. The Empire's high command was in shock. Earth? General Varlik, one of the top commanders, muttered under his breath. That's impossible. Humans barely have space technology. How could they have a ship like this? His voice echoed through the room as the rest of the officers exchanged confused looks. The humans, a species thought to be weak and unimportant in the grand scale of the galaxy, couldn't possibly have a ship of this power. The very idea was laughable, but the readings didn't lie. The warship was real. Its power, its weapons, and its size, everything about it, seemed far beyond anything Earth's primitive civilization could have ever built. And yet there it was, floating silently in the cold void of space. The officers quickly tried to dismiss the idea that humans could pose a serious threat. But the more they studied the signal, the more the evidence pointed to the fact that this warship was no joke. It wasn't just a ship. It was a full-scale battlecruiser, equipped with weaponry that could wipe out entire fleets with ease. "We have to investigate," said Admiral Creel, his voice calm but filled with uncertainty. "Prepare the fleet. We need to find out who's behind this." As the orders were given, the Empire's warships began to assemble. For the first time in years, there was a sense of unease in the Empire's high command. The fear of the unknown had settled in. What if this was the beginning of something they couldn't control? What if the humans weren't as weak as they had always believed? As the fleet moved out toward Earth's location, the officers in the command room continued to debate. "It has to be a mistake," General Varlik insisted. "This is just a trick. Maybe some alien species pretending to be humans. There's no way a human-made ship could be this advanced." But no one was completely convinced. Everyone knew the risks of underestimating an enemy. The Empire had learned that lesson the hard way in the past. And now, as they approached Earth, the question on everyone's mind was simple. Could humans really be the threat they had never expected? The journey to Earth took several hours, but the tension in the air only grew stronger. No one could shake the feeling that something was wrong. The ship's crew whispered among themselves, wondering if they were walking into a trap. If the humans really had such advanced technology, then why hadn't they made their presence known before? Was this a warning, or was it an attack waiting to happen? When the Empire's fleet finally arrived at the coordinates, the sight that greeted them was nothing short of astonishing. There, floating in the vast emptiness of space, was the human warship. It was enormous, unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Its surface was sleek and metallic, with weaponry mounted all over its hull. Pointing in every direction, Admiral Creel stood at the front of the command deck, his eyes fixed on the giant warship. His heart raced, but he kept his voice steady. "Open all channels. Let's see if we can communicate with them." The message was sent, but it was met with silence. The human warship remained still, unyielding in its place. Then the Empire's fleet moved closer. The sensors started to go haywire. The human ship had activated its weapon systems. Energy readings spiked. It was clear the ship was ready for battle. "Prepare for action," Admiral Creel ordered. The Empire's warships aligned, ready to strike. But there was something unsettling about the human ship's response. Instead of retreating or communicating, the ship's lights flickered, and a low hum filled the space dot without warning. The human warship fired. The blast was deafening. It shot out like a beam of pure energy, striking one of the Empire's smaller ships. The impact was instant, and the ship was torn apart, its remains drifting through space. The other ships in the fleet quickly scrambled to evade, but the damage had been done. The humans weren't playing games. They were ready to fight. The Empire's fleet began firing back, but every shot seemed to be dodged or blocked by the human warship's incredible defenses. The Empire's greatest weapons seemed useless against this ship. How could this be? How had humans managed to build something so powerful? "All units, full retreat," Admiral Creel shouted. "Get back to the outer rim, regroup and rethink our strategy." The Empire's fleet began to pull back, but the damage had been done. The human ship, though it hadn't fully engaged yet, had proven one thing. Humans were no longer the weak, primitive species they had once been. In fact, they had something the Empire hadn't even considered an advantage. And that advantage was now the Empire's greatest fear. As the fleet retreated into the vastness of space, the question remained, could the humans truly hold their ground, or was this just the beginning of a larger war? One thing was certain: the Empire's confidence in their absolute power had been shaken. And that was something no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. The battle for survival. The aftermath of the battle left the Empire in disarray. The massive human warship had delivered a blow that no one had expected. The fear that had been whispered in the command rooms now echoed loudly across the galaxy. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and that mistake had cost them as the fleet retreated to regroup. Commander Zalen, a young but highly skilled officer, stood at the edge of the command room, his mind racing. His heart still pounded from the shock of the unexpected attack. He had seen powerful fleets collapse before, but never like this. The Empire had always been in control, always the stronger force in the galaxy. Yet now, for the first time, Zalen could feel the balance shifting. Is this truly happening? Zalen thought aloud, staring out at the starry abyss through the massive windows of the command ship. "Yes, it's happening," said a voice behind him. Admiral Creel had arrived, his face stern. "The humans have weapons beyond our comprehension. If they continue like this, we may not survive." "But how?" Zalen asked, still processing what he had seen. How could the humans possibly have such power? They were supposed to be insignificant. Admiral Creel turned, his eyes dark with frustration. "We've always thought of them as primitive. We've always looked down on them. But it seems they've been hiding something all along." The Admiral's voice grew quieter. "We know nothing about Earth's true capabilities. They've been developing technology in secret for decades. We may have overlooked them, but that was our mistake. Now we pay the price. Back on Earth, things were different. The humans had long ago realized that the galaxy was vast and full of dangers, and so they had prepared. The warship that had just launched its devastating attack on the Empire was not a singular anomaly. It was part of something much larger. The ship was just a message, a warning to anyone who thought humanity was weak. Inside a high-tech command center on Earth, a small group of human leaders sat gathered, watching the unfolding battle through their own network of advanced technology. Commander Rhea, the lead strategist for Earth's military, sat at the head of the table, her eyes fixed on the screen. "They've already underestimated us," she said, her voice calm but filled with determination. "And they'll continue to, but we can't let them do that for too long. We've shown them a fraction of what we're capable of." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Rook, leaned forward, concern in his eyes. "Commander, do you think the Empire will strike back?" "They'll be furious, and they have the resources to retaliate." Rhea nodded. "They will. But we have to be ready. We need to prove to them that we're not some weak, isolated planet anymore. Our warship was just a message. The rest of our fleet is preparing for the real fight. And it's not just about power, it's about strategy. Back in space, the Empire was not sitting idle. The Admiral and his fleet had returned to their secret base to regroup. The damage to their pride was worse than any physical losses they had sustained. A question that haunted every officer in the room was simple. How could a race of humans, so seemingly weak and insignificant, possess such advanced technology? Have the researchers analyzed the human ship? One of the technicians General Varlik. Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered before. It's based on principles we've never seen. It's almost as if they've unlocked energy sources we haven't even considered. A tense silence filled the room. What's the next move? Varlik asked. We need to be careful. Their ship is clearly a trap, the technician replied. They've been playing us. The Empire's first fleet barely survived because we didn't know how to counter their weapons. Then we find out how, Varlik ordered. We'll send a larger fleet. We'll show them that they are nothing compared to the might of the Empire. And this time, we'll be prepared. The tension in the room was palpable. The Empire had been challenged in ways it never had before. But if there was one thing the Empire knew how to do, it was fight back harder, faster, and with no mercy. Commander Zalen couldn't shake the image of that human warship from his mind. He had witnessed the Empire's fleets crush civilizations before, but he had never seen a force like this. The humans weren't backing down, and that was the most dangerous part. The Empire was used to being the predator, not the prey. As the fleet prepared for another strike, Zalen felt the pressure mounting. The decision had been made. The Empire would launch an all-out assault on Earth, hoping to destroy the human warship once and for all. But deep inside, Zalen wondered, was it even possible? Could the Empire truly defeat a species that had been hiding its strength for so long? Meanwhile, on Earth, Ria's voice echoed through the command center as she gave the order. Prepare for the next phase. The Empire doesn't know who they're messing with. They think they can just wipe us out, but we've been ready for this. Her eyes narrowed as she stared at the projection of the Empire's fleet. It was only a matter of time before they came again. But this time, Earth would be ready for them. The human warship wasn't just a symbol of power. It was a symbol of their will to survive. Let's give them a fight they'll never forget, Ria said, her voice steady yet full of purpose. The countdown began. Earth's warships were ready to face the Empire's might. But for the first time in galactic history, the tables had turned. The once helpless humans were now preparing to challenge the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. And this was only the beginning. In this part, the story takes a unique turn by showing the Empire's growing uncertainty, while also revealing Earth's strategy. The human advantage isn't just technological, it's their ability to adapt and outthink their enemies. The suspense heightens as both sides prepare for the next battle, with the audience eager to see what happens next. The hidden weapon the Empire had regrouped. Its fleet was vast and powerful, and this time they had a new plan. They would strike Earth with overwhelming force, crushing the human resistance once and for all. But as they prepared to launch their second wave, something was wrong. Commander Zalen stood in the Empire's command center, studying the strategic maps of Earth and the human warship's last known position. His mind was restless, trying to piece together the puzzle. The humans were clever, far more clever than he'd ever given them credit for. Are we sure about this plan? He asked, his voice betraying a hint of doubt. We're sending everything we have at them, but they've already shown us they can fight back. Admiral Creel, standing next to him, turned sharply. Of course, we're sure. The humans have nothing left to show us. We know their weaknesses now. They can't possibly outmaneuver us again. But deep down, Zalen wasn't so sure. The human warship had been a shock, but it wasn't just the size of the ship that troubled him. It was how Earth had hidden its strength all this time. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something else, something even greater, that the humans were hiding. Could it be possible that their technology was not just advanced, but fundamentally different from anything the Empire had encountered? Zalen had always believed the Empire's superiority was unquestionable, but this fight was beginning to feel like a game they hadn't been taught to play. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Rhea's face was a mask of determination. She knew the Empire was planning their next attack, but what they didn't know was that Earth had a secret of its own, an even more powerful weapon, one that could turn the tide of this war. The human warship, though powerful, was just the beginning. Rhea's mind drifted back to the days when Earth's leaders first discovered the hidden technology buried deep beneath the planet's surface. An ancient machine, far older than human civilization itself, had been uncovered in a deep, forgotten cave. It had taken years to decipher the alien technology, but once they did, they understood it was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. This was the true advantage. The humans had unlocked the power of the ancient machine, and now it was ready. Rhea turned to her team, her voice firm and clear. The time has come. Prepare to activate the core. Lieutenant Rook's face darkened. Commander, are we sure about this? The core is unstable. It could destroy everything. I know the risks, Rhea replied, but the Empire's fleet is coming. We need a weapon that can end this now. The core was humanity's last resort, and even Rhea didn't fully understand all of its capabilities. But she knew it could give them the edge they needed if they used it correctly. The core's power was based on a principle that defied the laws of physics itself, capable of manipulating energy in ways that no other civilization had ever imagined. In the heart of the human warship, technicians began to work feverishly, activating the core. A low hum filled the ship as the ancient machine began to power up. The energy readings skyrocketed, and for a moment, the crew felt a strange shift. In the air, it was as if reality itself was bending around them. Back in space, the Empire's fleet was ready. Hundreds of ships, each bristling with weapons and shields, were poised to attack. But as they moved into position, something strange happened. Their sensors flickered. The star charts they had relied on for navigation began to distort. For the first time in years, the Empire's fleet was blind. What's happening? General, Varlik shouted, his voice shaking with a mix of anger and fear. It's the humans, the lead technician said, his voice trembling. They've somehow disrupted our sensor grids. We can't get a clear reading on their position. Impossible, Varlik muttered. They've hacked our systems? How? Our technology is unbeatable. The truth was, the Empire's superiority had always been built on the assumption that no one else could touch their technology. But now, it was becoming clear that the humans were doing something the Empire had never encountered before using their own technology against them in ways that were both clever and unpredictable. As the fleet continued to move into position, a sudden wave of energy washed over them. It wasn't a typical weapon strike. It was something different, something far more unsettling. The ship's engines sputtered. Their shields flickered. The Empire's greatest weaponry, the heart of their battle strategy, was suddenly useless. Admiral Creel stood frozen as his fleet was hit by the strange energy wave. The Empire's most advanced ships were faltering. What is this? He whispered, his voice barely audible. Suddenly, the human warship appeared out of nowhere, as if it had slipped through the cracks of space itself. It had been hidden, cloaked by the power of the core. The energy wave had disguised its true position, allowing it to approach without detection. Rhea's voice rang out over the Empire's communication channels, her words cool and calculated. You've underestimated us, Admiral Creel. We warned you that Earth was not what you thought. Now, we'll show you what we can truly do." The human warship powered up its weapons, but this time, it wasn't just a show of strength. The core had amplified the ship's systems, enabling it to generate energy beams capable of tearing through the Empire's fleet with ease. Admiral Creel stared in disbelief as one of his ships disintegrated in a flash of light. "Retreat," he shouted. "We're not ready for this," but it was too late. The human warship was already engaging, and the Empire's carefully calculated plans were crumbling before their eyes. For the first time in history, the galaxy's most powerful force was losing, and the humans were winning. The war had shifted, the balance had changed, and the Empire, for the first time, realized that Earth wasn't just fighting to survive, they were fighting to dominate. In this part, the humans reveal their hidden weapon, the core, and use it to disrupt the Empire's advanced technology, shifting the power dynamic. The suspense is heightened as the Empire's confidence collapses and the humans begin to take control. The story pushes the idea that the humans' true strength isn't just their warships, but their ability to surprise and outsmart even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. A silent reckoning, the Empire's once proud fleet was now in disarray, retreating back into the far reaches of space as their systems flickered and failed. Admiral Creel stood at the command center of his flagship, a view of the space battle unfolding before him, a cruel reminder of how far the Empire had fallen in such a short amount of time. His hands were clenched into fists, his knuckles white with frustration. "Status report." He barked, his voice strained with panic. "The fleet is damaged, sir," a technician replied. "Engines are malfunctioning across the board. We can't maintain formation. Our shields are barely holding up." The Empire had always prided itself on its technological superiority. Yet here, against a race they had long deemed insignificant, they were now on the back foot. Creel couldn't shake the thought, how did we get here? His eyes darted to the holomap of Earth, now glowing ominously in front of him. The human warship, though it was less than half the size of the Empire's largest battleships, was proving to be far more deadly. Its power, amplified by the core, had taken them by surprise, but it was the stealth, the suddenness of the attack, that had broken the Empire's resolve. But that wasn't all. The humans had something even more unsettling up their sleeves, something that could turn this entire war in their favor. Creel's mind raced, trying to figure out what it was. He had to act quickly before the warship grew stronger. Meanwhile, on Earth, the human warship's crew was buzzing with activity. Commander Rhea stood in front of a massive display screen, the glow of the holographic map reflecting in her eyes. The core had given them a clear edge, but it was not without cost. The energy levels required to maintain the core's power were immense, and the warship was already showing signs of straying. "Commander," Lieutenant Rook said, his voice tense, "we've pushed the core to its limits. We're running out of power. If we don't stabilize it soon, it could overload." Rhea didn't hesitate. She had known this was a risk from the beginning, but she had no choice. "Prepare for the next phase. We can't stop now. The Empire will come back stronger, and we need to be ready. There's something else we need to do, something the Empire doesn't know about." Rook raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Rhea turned to face him, her eyes sharp with resolve. "The core is not just a weapon, it's a key to the ancient network beneath the surface of Earth, the one we've barely tapped into. If we can unlock it fully, we'll have more than just a weapon. We'll have a command over space itself." For a moment, Rook's face remained blank. "Space itself? How?" "We're not just fighting the Empire for Earth's survival," Rhea continued. "We're fighting for control over the entire galaxy. The core is connected to something far larger, something the humans discovered long before the Empire even thought about reaching for the stars. The silence in the warship's control room deepened. Are you saying the core is linked to the original builders of the galaxy? Rook asked, almost in disbelief. Yes, Rhea said. It was always there, buried deep beneath us, hidden from everyone. The original race that built the galaxy's first networks of power and travel. They vanished long ago, but their technology remains. Rook's expression darkened. If we unleash that kind of power, what's the risk? What if it's too much? Rhea's voice softened, but remained firm. The risk is enormous. But if we don't do this, the Empire will overwhelm us. We have no choice. We either risk everything and gain control of the galaxy, or we lose everything. With no further hesitation, Rhea issued the orders. Activate the system. We're going to unlock the final key. Let the Empire learn what happens when they challenge Earth. As technicians worked to prepare the final sequence, the warships. Core hummed with life, its energy growing unstable, yet unstoppable. Outside, the vast expanse of space seemed eerily quiet, as though the entire galaxy was holding its breath. On the edge of the galaxy, the Empire's fleet regrouped once again. Admiral Creel had ordered a total lockdown, ensuring that no message could escape or be intercepted. His fear was growing, for he had no idea what the humans were doing next. Every signal from Earth was carefully scrutinized, every movement analyzed. But one thing still remained certain in his mind. The humans could not possibly control the ancient powers they had discovered. The Empire's new strategy was clear. Destroy Earth's warship before it unlocked whatever secret weapon the humans had. Creel ordered a full-scale assault, launching everything the Empire had at Earth's defenses. This would be the final test. The humans had shown their hand, and now the Empire would respond with everything they had left. But what Creel didn't know was that Earth was not merely defending itself anymore. They weren't just holding their ground. The humans were activating something far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. A power that had been hidden from the rest of the galaxy for millennia. Back on Earth, as the countdown to activation reached its final seconds, Rhea's eyes narrowed in focus. We're about to find out if we can control this power. If we can, we win the war. If we can't, the consequences will be catastrophic. The final sequence was initiated, and in that instant, the core's energy skyrocketed, sending ripples of power through the warship and the very fabric of space itself. Across the galaxy, the Empire's fleet suddenly froze. The attack they had been preparing, the massive fleet that was about to strike Earth, halted. All systems shut down. Communications went silent. Ships veered off course. Some even began to drift aimlessly, as if the galaxy itself had decided to sever the connection between them. Admiral Creel's face turned pale as he watched in disbelief. What ... is happening? In the center of Earth's warship, Rhea stared at the newly illuminated map of the galaxy, a map that was shifting and moving on its own. For the first time, she realized just how far they had come, and just how much. The Empire had underestimated them. The final key had been unlocked. And now, the humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were rewriting the very laws of space and time. The Empire's attack was over before even began. Earth had gained control. And the galaxy would never be the same again, not in this part. The humans take a massive step forward by activating a dangerous, ancient technology that allows them to control not just weapons, but space itself. The Empire's response is swift, but their too late Earth has changed the rules of the game, and the tension reaches a new high as the humans take control of the galaxy's future. Asterisk. The Empire strikes back. The galaxy was still. The chaotic battle that had unfolded around Earth had come to a sudden, shocking halt. For the first time in history, The once dominant Empire's fleet was powerless. Their advanced technology turned against them by a force they had never anticipated: humans. The very fabric of space seemed to tremble, as though the universe itself had paused to acknowledge the shift in power. Commander Rhea stood before the main control panel of the human warship, her heart pounding in her chest. The map of the galaxy continued to shift and warp, guided by the newfound control over space itself. The core was resonating with energy, its power growing in ways that no one, not even Rhea, had fully understood. But as the vastness of space unfolded before her, she knew this moment of victory would not last long. The Empire would not accept defeat so easily. It would come for Earth again, this time with more force than ever before. "Lieutenant Rook, any signals from the Empire?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. Rook's fingers flew over the controls as he scanned the data. His eyes widened. "Yes, Commander. They're regrouping. Their fleet ... It's reactivating." Rhea's face hardened. "How?" "They're using something new, something we've never seen before. Some sort of signal jamming technology. It's bypassing our control over their systems." Rook's voice trembled. "It's not just an attack. It's a counterstrike against our ability to manipulate space. So they've found a way around it," Rhea muttered, more to herself than anyone else. "They can't let us have control for long." The silence in the room was thick with the weight of what came next. The Empire had always prided itself on being the most advanced military power in the galaxy. And now, it seemed, they were about to unveil something that could challenge Earth's new advantage. Rhea turned to face the crew, her resolve firm. "Prepare for impact. The Empire will not back down. We need to make sure that the core is stabilized before they launch their attack." On the far edges of the galaxy, Admiral Creel stood at the command center of the Empire's flagship, his face hard and determined. The Empire's previous retreat had been humiliating. Yet now, after studying Earth's power, they had found something that could potentially break the humans' newfound grip on the galaxy. It wasn't just technology that the Empire had relied on. It was their absolute control over the power of the stars themselves. Creel's engineers had developed a weapon, unlike any other, a star forge, a device capable of tapping into the energy of entire stars, channeling it into a focused beam of unimaginable force. The Starforge had the power to melt planets, obliterate entire fleets, and disrupt the fabric of space-time itself. It was the ultimate weapon, the Empire's last hope for victory. But there was a catch. The Starforge was dangerous. Its power was so vast that it could tear apart the fabric of space if not carefully controlled. Creel knew this, but he also understood that it was the only way to fight back. "It's time to end this," Creel muttered, staring at the coordinates of Earth. "Activate the Starforge." Across the Empire's fleet, the enormous planet-destroying device powered up. The massive beam generator hummed with life as it drew energy from a nearby star. The sheer scale of the weapon was enough to make the stars themselves seem insignificant. And now, the Empire was ready to unleash its devastating power. Back on Earth, Rhea and her team could feel the sudden shift. In the atmosphere, a wave of energy pulsed through space, an unnatural force that felt like it could tear the warship apart. "Commander," Rook shouted, his voice full of panic. "They've activated something. Something huge. It's a massive energy surge. Much stronger than anything we've encountered. It's coming right for us." Rhea's eyes widened as she looked at the energy readings. The Empire had unveiled a new weapon, one that threatened not just their warship, but the very existence of Earth itself. The Starforge was capable of amplifying stellar energy on a scale they hadn't prepared for. And it was heading straight for them. "We need to use the core," Rhea said, her voice low but resolute. "We need to tap into the power of the stars' elves." But just as she gave the order to activate the core's final stage, a strange phenomenon began to occur. The core, which had once bent space itself to Earth's will, was now beginning to behave unpredictably. Energy readings fluctuated wildly. The warship shook violently, as if it were caught in a cosmic storm. "What's happening?" Rook exclaimed, his face pale as he tried to stabilize the systems. "We've never seen anything like this before. The core's power is reacting to the Starforge." Rhea's heart skipped a beat. The Empire's weapon wasn't just a threat, it was somehow affecting the core itself. Could it be that the Empire had discovered the secret of the star's energy? Had they learned how to harness it in a way that could disrupt the very source of humanity's newfound power? In the command room, the tension reached its peak. Rhea stared at the map of space as it began to ripple, the energy fields shifting in impossible patterns. For a moment, the warship's systems went dark. Everything went silent. Then, in an instant, the space around Earth seemed to fracture. The Starforge unleashed a burst of energy, a blinding beam of light that shot across the galaxy. But just before it could reach Earth, the warship fueled by the core fired its own counterbeam. The clash of energy was overwhelming, creating a shockwave that rattled the very foundations of space itself. The explosion of light and energy sent ripples through the galaxy. The soundless battle raged in the emptiness of space. Both Earth and the Empire had deployed their ultimate weapons, and the shockwaves from the battle were felt across distant star systems. For a moment, it seemed as if the universe itself might collapse under the weight of such immense power. And then, in a heart-stopping twist, the energy from the clash began to settle, revealing something none of them could have predicted. The space around Earth was no longer just a battlefield. It was a portal. The force of the energy collision had opened a rift in space-time, one that led to an entirely different galaxy dot. And from that rift, something or someone began to emerge. This chapter ramps up the tension by introducing a new, more devastating weapon from the Empire, the Star Forge, and then turning the tables with a surprising twist. Earth's power over the stars begins to falter as the Starforge's energy distorts the core, creating a dangerous collision that opens a rift in space. What comes through that rift promises to change the war forever. The rift unleashed the shockwaves from the collision between the human warship's core and the Empire's Starforge had rippled through the very fabric of space itself, leaving behind a strange and unnerving silence. For a few moments, everything hung in the balance: Earth, the Empire, and the galaxy at large, each uncertain of what would come next. On the human warship, Commander Rhea stood frozen in front of the main control panel, watching as the holographic map of space distorted before her eyes. The energy field surrounding Earth had shifted into an unrecognizable pattern, its chaotic shifting waves suggesting that space itself had fractured. Rook was the first to speak, his voice tense. "Commander, the energy readings. They're off the charts. Something's wrong with the core. It's opening a rift to another galaxy." Rhea's heart skipped a beat. A rift, but how? Whatever the Empire did with the Starforge, it triggered the core's latent capabilities. It's not just a weapon anymore. It's becoming something else entirely. The rift. It's pulling everything in its path. Is it pulling us in? Rhea asked, her mind racing with the implications. She had no idea what this rift could mean, but the thought of being dragged into an unknown part of the universe was enough to send chills down her spine. "No," Rook replied quickly, scanning the data. "We're not being pulled in, but the rift is growing. The real danger is what's coming through it." "What do you mean?" Rhea demanded. The tech officer turned, his face pale. "Something is coming, through the rift. Something massive. It's coming from the other side." The tension in the control room heightened. The humans had barely survived the Empire's attack, and now a new, unknown force was emerging from the rift, threatening to unravel everything. As the ship's sensors struggled to lock on to the new presence, a darkness beyond the rift seemed to take form. A shadow stretched across the galaxy, huge, shifting, and ominously silent. And then the truth became clear. The rift wasn't just a tier in space. It was an invasion. A massive armada, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, began to emerge from the rift. It was not a fleet of ships, but an entire fleet of monstrous, unknown entities, beings of pure energy and darkness, their forms shifting and pulsating like cosmic storms. Rhea's breath caught in her throat. The human warship was no longer the galaxy's greatest threat. The Empire was no longer their greatest threat. There was something far more dangerous, far older, and far more powerful now emerging from the unknown. Back on the Empire's flagship, Admiral Creel had watched the rift's formation with growing horror. His eyes widened in disbelief as the sensors began to pick up readings of the new alien force. His worst fears were realized. They were not the only ones to have discovered the rift. The beings emerging from it were not like anything the Empire had ever encountered. Their energy signatures were unstable, their technology far beyond the Empire's understanding. Creel could only imagine what horrors lay behind those dark shapes. The Empire's weapons had failed against the humans, but this was something entirely different. "This is not our fight anymore," Creel muttered. "We need to survive. We need to survive long enough to fight back." The rift pulsed once again, and a voice not of a single being, but a chorus of countless voices echoed across the galaxy. "We are the Eldritch. We have come to claim what was ours. The galaxy will be ours once again." Rhea's pulse quickened as she heard the chilling words reverberate across the warship's communication systems. The Eldritch. Who were they? What were they? Whatever they were, they had come to reclaim the galaxy from both humanity and the Empire. And it seemed they had no intentions of leaving until the galaxy was in their grasp. The final stand, the galaxy had been thrown into chaos. The rift had opened, and from it came the Eldritch beings of pure, unimaginable power. They were not just another alien race. They were something older, something far more ancient, with motives that defied comprehension. On Earth's warship, Commander Rhea's hands trembled as she stared at the enormous fleet of Eldritch entities emerging from the rift. These beings were unlike anything the human race had ever faced, an energy-based, cosmic force that seemed to bend space and time with ease. They were not interested in negotiations. They weren't interested in peace. They're coming for everything, Rhea muttered under her breath. She turned to her crew, her expression firm despite the fear tightening in her chest. "We cannot let them take the galaxy." Rook stepped forward, his face grim. "We can't fight them like we fought the Empire. We don't even understand their technology." "We don't need to understand it," Rhea said, her eyes blazing with determination. "We need to hold them off long enough for humanity to prepare. If we can't stop them, we'll at least slow them down. They're not the only threat we have to face." The Empire, too, was scrambling. Admiral Creel had ordered his fleet to retreat to a hidden location, a place far beyond the rift. The Empire's initial plan had been to destroy Earth, but now survival was the only priority. The Eldritch were too powerful. The Empire would have to fight for its life, not its dominance. In a secret meeting aboard his flagship, Creel turned to his top officers. "We cannot defeat the Eldritch alone. Earth will be our ally, whether they like it or not. We need to combine our forces." Back on Earth, Rhea's team worked quickly to analyze the data they had gathered. They realized the core could possibly interact with the rift, manipulating the energy on a level that could fight back against the Eldritch. But it would come at a great cost. We can use the core to destabilize the rift, Rhea explained, her voice steady. If we overload it, we might be able to close the rift and cut off the Eldritch from our galaxy. And as the core powered up to its breaking point, the rift began to destabilize. A wave of pure, raw energy shot from Earth's warship, crashing into the Eldritch fleet, shaking the very fabric of space itself. The Eldritch screamed, their cosmic, forms writhing in agony as the rift collapsed. The galaxy held its breath as the final blinding explosion of energy consumed the rift. The Eldritch and everything in its path. Silence followed. And then, in the stillness of space, Earth's warship and the Empire's fleet remained, battered and broken, but alive. For now, this ending delivers a unique resolution, with the humans and the Empire forced to face an even greater threat together. The destruction of the rift provides a temporary victory, but it leaves behind the knowledge that Earth and the galaxy are forever changed. The Eldritch are gone, at least for now, but the battle for the future is far from over.